Hey guys, so as I mentioned on my Facebook page for the stream today, what I was thinking of doing is playing a little bit with um, the cloth modifier and some force fields in Blender, and doing some pretty interesting simulations. Um, you can get some pretty cool results. From that. And one that I've experimented with was creating those a little bit sci-fi type of interior. How should I put this? Like the cloth inflated type panels. Let me just see if I can find a little bit of a reference image as to what I'm referring. Hopefully it makes sense easier that way. Um, so let's see. I can't believe it's actually not that easy to find these things. And then again, I don't really know the exact what's the scientific term for it. But let's see. Um, so basically, what it might end up more or less is something like this. And I've posted the image a little earlier as to what I'm trying to achieve. So let me just quickly show you. So I know it's a little dark, but this is the plan. I'll see if I can manage to. This is pretty simple to create just using curves and array modifiers to create kind of a winding corridor of this. For maybe like a space station or something. But pretty much this is what I'm trying to achieve. One of these pillow-looking shapes, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more of an interesting type shape, maybe with a crease in the middle. We'll see what we can achieve. It's going to be a little bit experimenting as well. So let's get to it. First of all, I wanted to show you the force, or the force can you can think of it a little bit as the wind. So let's just go ahead and add a plane, and for this one, I'm gonna go into edit mode, add maybe 20 subdivision this way, and let's do 20 this way. I'm gonna keep it a little light. Um, so this is um, I wanted to show you the force field. So let's add a wind force field. I guess they're all called force fields, but there's just different types. So direction of the wind, the distance between these actually represents the the force of it. So or the strength. So if I increase this, you'll see that the rings kind of separate, and you'll get a stronger wind. I'll show you how it looks on this little. What I'll do, it's kind of like a flag. So let's rotate this around the y-axis, because this is like probably the simplest example of of how the force works. So this one will have this be a cloth, and let's actually pin it down. So I'll do these vertices as a vertex group, and then in my cloth settings I'll do the pinning and then group. Alright, so now whenever I simulate, just hit Alt A. Um, uh, let's see, and it just keeps falling for whatever reason. Oh, my bad. Um, Actually, I added the group, but I forgot to assign the vertices. So now that the vertices are assigned, it actually has to go through the first round apparently of whatever, however many frames you have, and then it runs on the second. Let's do a smooth on this so it looks a little better. Maybe turn on self collision. This is gonna probably take a little longer to simulate, but it's kind of looking a little better. Okay, so now let's see if we can turn up this wind a little bit and make this. As you can see, it's already doing it. Flapping the wind, kind of like a flag would. So there we go. And again, this is with something that has very little vertices. You can and whenever you have it in a spot that's something you like, you can just press Alt A and say you like that position of the cloth, and you can apply that. But I mean, this is just a simulation, so I'm hoping that at some point CryEngine will be. I'm having some issues exporting to. You can export Alembic from 2.78. Right now I'm using 2.75 because of a plugin that currently only works in 2. Doesn't work in 2.78. So eventually I will transition to 2.78 because there's some really cool features in there that I like. And but yeah, so this is the cloth modifier with the wind applied. So in order to achieve that little effect I was showing you, we need to do a little bit of trickery on this. So we'll have our wind modifier, and also you can use this as, it doesn't have to be necessarily wind, but let's see if we can do force and see what effect this one has. Actually, I haven't tried a lot of it, but apparently it's pretty similar. It's probably a little different in how it's applied. So let's see, maybe I'm wondering if 2 has a different effect. Not so much. But we can use either one of these two to create what we need. So let's keep it to wind. I like the force because it's giving you a little bit of a better idea of how strong the effect is. Right now the next one is somewhere out there, and the next little circle that would tell you how strong it is. So let's bring this all the way back, and I might want to add a different one for this one, because I like something that has a lot more subdivisions. So I'll do 40 on this axis and 40 on this axis, and if we need more we can just add a subdivision modifier. Oscar, hey, so I was hoping for to do geom cache, but I've tried it out in I've tried it out in CryEngine and it doesn't. It just imports it as static. So apparently, I read up a little bit on it, and there's some issues with it. It doesn't really. So apparently, some other people are having problems with the with Alembic format. So it would have been cool to be able to do that, but yeah, whenever it's fixed, I'll try and look into it. Um, so, but no, today I was planning on doing a little bit of work with the force and cloth and so yeah. The plan that I was having was to create something like one of those sci-fi inflated wall panels type things. So we'll see how that turns out. Oh yeah, I mean just for flagging the engine, yeah, exactly. And I mean you can always just use you don't even need vertex paint, I think. I mean, I don't know if um, the vertex option in the shader in the engine would actually do you if you actually need vertex paint for that. So I haven't tried it as much. So what I was actually also the thing I was going to use is shape keys, which is really cool. So let's add this in and let's do like that, kind of to there. Yeah, I mean, the way I can see geom cache is should be pretty straightforward. Just create your little simulation and um, yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. That's a good idea. I'll give that a shot at some point. Um, but yeah, that'd be cool to try it. All right. So hopefully, come on. Let's see. So we have the pinning down. Let's make this to be a cloth and pin it. So let's see how this works as for the first round of simulating it. Okay, so that's turning out pretty interesting. Let's see if we can turn this up to maybe 2000 and blow it up like that. Yeah, it's kind of weird with shape keys. They have to bring it back down to 0 and then pull it up again to get it to simulate. Sometimes it's a little funky how these work. Yeah, so you get some some pretty cool effects as far as using this cloth thing. And as I was telling you, we might need to add a little bit of a subdivision surface right before things start happening. It's going to be a little bit more taxing, but Hopefully it'll look a little better. Ah, come on, how strong does this have to be? Alright, that's all better. So yeah, whenever making this, and you're in a spot that you kind of like how it looks, like kind of there, you can stop the simulation and have a peek of what's happening. So, you know, we can probably call this, you know, decent. One thing that these have is also you can do turbulence, and I haven't played around a lot with it, but you know, maybe try doing the noise and see how it reacts. And as you can see, it's kind of pushing it, you know, side to side a little bit. So yeah, I think that's a pretty decent look, I would say. You know, it looks a little interesting, and you know, you can do a couple of these if you want to, and so let's. Yeah, so we need to remove the shape keys and then apply R. So now we have an actual mesh. And of course we can go a little higher with this. There's some issues down here. Usually the subdivision modifier will take care of those. Alright, that's kind of okay. Let's move these to a different layer. So now let's try and create the low poly for this. And you know, we'll start with a plane. So what I like to do is I like to use the shrink wrap a lot. So let's do maybe 10 edge loops for this one and 10 here, and see how if that'll be enough. So this one is going to be called plane, and this one. Alright, so let's see how we can make this thing fit. So that look a little better, but it's not really fitting as I wanted it to. Let's pull it down some more and see if we can add a couple of edge loops around here. Actually, no, I'm wrong. Let's pull these down like so. Yeah, you want to make sure you don't have, you're not doing it too drastically, because then you'll have some really tight vertices. So let's pull this down as well. So I kind of overdid it with this. So let's see if we can, make things smaller on the z-axis, a little bit like that. Maybe a 0.7 of what it was. Alright. Alright, so that looks pretty decent. I think we might have a decent bake out of it, hopefully. Let me just add another subdivision surface to this as well. There we go, that's much better. So, for LODs, you can always remove some of these vertices. Okay, the geometry doesn't look too bad. So let's go ahead and apply these. And there's not a lot of it either, so you can always cut a bit of it when when doing LODs. And the good thing about it is that doing it this way, you still have edge loops. So if you do the decimate kind of thing, I do like it in some cases, but most cases it's not the best thing to use, because you're going to end up with a bunch of triangles. And one thing I hate more than triangles is more triangles. So let's do a quick unwrap. And of course, if you yeah, I'm trying to find out what's the best way to project this. To give more variety, you can always have maybe 4 of these, and put them all in the same texture space. And in my case, I'm just going to do one, and I'm going to use that one to create my my array. So let's quickly throw in a grid on this and see if there's any stretching, or there's a little bit around here, but not too horrible. What we can do is let's see if we can select the outer edge and scale it up a little bit. Yeah, that reduced some of it. So since this is not going to have like a brick material on it, or it's going to be most likely a plastic type fabric, at least in my case, there's not too much worry about the little stretching that this might happen in there. Alright, so with that being said, we're pretty much done with the UV unwrap. Actually, I can make this so it fits a little better. There we go. Yeah, so like I said, there's definitely improvement that can be made, as far as how the stretching around here. You can always help with that. Um, I mean, I'm doing it too late now, but there's always ways to get it to look a little better. Okay, so now for the fun part of, we'll texture it and create that tube. Um, so let's add a modifier. So we'll start with an array. One thing that, especially when you get into these shapes, you got to be careful with, and using the array modifier, is that you might want to do an even scaling. So scale on the x-axis to 0, and as well as on this side, like that. So that way, when you apply your array modifiers, you don't get a gap in between. Alright, so that's for that edge, and let's do it for this one as well, like that. And like that. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, and hopefully everything will look squarish, though it doesn't seem to be. Oh, actually, this is above that, so you might want to push that in a little bit. Yeah, I can see it's going to bump into the. Okay. So hopefully we don't have any of those. There might be a little bit here. Okay, so now let's add a curve. And come on. Curve, and let's use a path. One thing, I mean, the last time I did this, I was doing it a little backwards. So first thing you need to do is, if this is going to be like in a circle, or you want to have it like corridor, like I was showing you in that photo, you might want to do it. You might want to do the circle first, and then do the long way. So in our case, it would be, whoops. Um, let's call it. We're gonna do the corridor going this way. I already have it on the x-axis, so so this is gonna be 1, and let's just add a circle, curve, and circle. And we'll need to make this a little bigger. And let's see how how our mesh molds around that. So let's add a curve modifier, and it's going to be our circle. So as you can see, it's actually doing pretty good. Oh, I keep confusing that. So now that we're looking at that, we got to be a little careful, because we want these to match, and I haven't really gotten the knowledge as far as how would you scale that circle to make this perfectly match, but you know, we'll do it kind of like that. Okay, so now once we have, you know, this curve modifier, you know, and you can make it smaller. I guess I'm gonna leave it at this size, though it's a little big. So yeah, let's make the circle a little smaller. Make it a little bit more claustrophobic. There we go. So let's add another modifier, and this is going to be another array. And this time I wanted to take it in the y-axis. So this is going to be 0 here, and this is going to be 1 here. And let's add another curve, and this time we'll call this a path. And rotate around the z-axis 90. And scale it on the y, like so. Okay, so for this one, we'll have to add another curve. And this one is going to be our path. So, nerves path. And let's see, maybe we need to apply rotation and scale. I'm not really sure why it's sometimes, and I don't get why this happens, is there's some weird orientations on whenever you add a curve, and especially when I use multiples. Like the first one, the first curve was, you know, perfectly in place, but this one, I don't know why it's doing it like this. You know, it's kind of a weird weird thing that's happening, and you can always change it to this, but I wasn't sure why. Oh yeah, I'm wondering if it's taking the deformation axis and it's basing it, you know, doing it based off of that. Alright, so let's start from the origin point, or at least close to it, and change this curve around a little bit. So we make it look a little bit more like kind of a corridor-like structure. So let's do bigger count for this. There we go. That looks like a corridor. All right, but we need to create the texture first. So I'll do this. I'll move this to layer 3, so we know where the high poly is, and I'll duplicate this and move it to layer 2. And on layer 2, I'm going to remove all these modifiers because I need that thing to be positioned right where the high poly is, just like that. Alright, so let's export this. It's going to be our high poly, or low poly, sorry. So one thing to always remember, always save. I haven't saved my Blender document yet, so hopefully it doesn't crash. And let's put this in, I'm trying to think, where do I want to put it? Let's do it here. Let's call it maybe sci-fi. I already had one. Huh. Go figure. So this, so I've done some of that work here. Let's do inflated panels. So it's going to be inflated panel, and export that. And let's export the high poly. It's going to take a little bit longer, I assume. and call that high poly and export. Alright, so in the meantime, let's fire up Painter. Oh, and it's done. Okay, so there we go. We got Substance Painter right here. So let's do a new and select it from Sci-Fi. So start off with the low poly. There it is, really unassuming. And let's do the bake. We'll do it at 2K and high poly. We might have to increase this max frontal distance and max rear distance just because we have all these divots in the cloth. So let's see how this turns out. Yeah, as you can see, this one, it doesn't go, the ray doesn't go all the way, and it's not really putting all these details out there. So let's try and do the bake and increase this to a 0.05 and 0.05, and there we go. That looks much better. So from here on, it's pretty simple. Yeah, I see some issues around here, and that's why you have to be careful when you do the simulation, so there's none of these things happening like that. So that's my bad. But let's add some kind of plasticky looking texture to this, and I'm just searching through my current materials that I have. So look for something plastic, and I kind of like this one. It's all kind of used type plastic, and we can always do a little bit of a different type wear map on it. What I really like a lot is this edge damages, especially turn down the edge damage intensity, and so to this one you can always, I'm going to add a little bit of dirt. A little bit like that, but that's too much. It's a little bit too much grunge. So there we go, like that. And what I might end up doing is, let's see, I closed my properties by mistake. I'm going to do a color that's mostly like this, but a little darker. For where the dirt goes. Like that. Let's see if we just duplicate this to give it a little bit more intensity. And the finish grinded I don't really like for my cloth like plastic. So actually, I mean, it's a pretty cool thing to do if you add this filter. And why I keep always closing this properties pad tab. So in here, let's do using one of these finishes. I mean, this definitely gives it some pretty cool effects. And You know, you can always, and see, this is what I was telling you about. You'll notice some stretching depending on what you use for a texture. So probably gonna tone it down like that. And let's I keep doing this. Let's do this color to be kind of you know, grayish looking thing, and I wanted to make it a little bit more shinier, just like that. And the wear, let's increase this a little bit. Maybe add a little bit of crunch to it. Alright, finally I moved it to the side and didn't close it. Alright, so that's looking pretty good, I would say. And let's go back and export our tube thing. Alright, so I'm hoping that once exporting this, importing it into Substance Painter is not going to do any issues, because, well, it's not in the same position as it was, you know, for our little object. So let's see what happens. So this is going to be final, maybe, and export it. So let's bring it in here and see if we can get an interesting render out of it. Cannot replace with stroke preservation. The meshes, units, and our scales do not match. To fix your mesh transformation. Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that. You know, trying to get a nicer render here. So let me do a duplicate of this and see if applying all these modifiers, if this helps. Though it probably won't, but we'll give it a try. Yeah, I didn't really like it too much. So what we can do is we can do a quick export. And that way so we'll do documents channel, and that's probably good. Let's export these maps, and then we'll just bring them in, and hopefully it will look good when applied to that full mesh. So let's quickly save this as where were we? Sci-fi, favorite panels, and let's save this. And we'll just create a new project. Well, we use the final one. So there we go. There's our final corridor. And let's apply those textures that we just brought in. So I'm gonna have to import them into, if you look at this, it should go into the textures tab. So I'm just gonna import those into here. And this is kind of a little bit of a nuisance with the new version of Substance Painter. They have to define all of these, and so, oh well, it is what it is. We'll work with it. Okay, so now in here, let's apply these. So we have the color, like so. This is always, for some reason, I don't know if it's a bug or they just want to leave it like that. It's always tiled weird. And then let's bring in our metallic, our normal, our height. Whoa, oh, sorry, that was the roughness. I don't know what I was thinking. That was in height. Let's do roughness. And there was another one in here. There's a mixed AO, but I'm not sure how I would mix that in with everything else. But we have our little sort of sci-fi looking corridor, and of course, you know, in this you can throw in like some kind of pipes going this way, or you know, what have you. Let's see if it's how the render might look in iRay, because I definitely like the addition of iRay to the Substance Painter. You know, it definitely you know, if you want to get some nice renders out, yeah, you need a pretty beefy machine to do it, but it does do some really nice results. In this case, for some reason, the last time I did it, it did take quite a while, and you know, these samples need to be bumped up quite a bit, and so. But overall, I think it turned out okay. You know, so yeah, while you might not be seeing something like this, you know, right off the bat, but and you know, you might also want to, as you can see, there's some repetition going on in here. You might want to, you know, rotate, you know, whenever you create the full panel. You might want to rotate one of these by 90 degrees and the next one by 90, so you get a little bit of a variation before applying the final curve. So I'm pretty happy how this plasticky looking, whatever you want to call it, vinyl material turned out. It's quite alright. So that was pretty much it that I wanted to do today. As Oscar was mentioning, and I don't know yet, but hopefully in the newer version of CryEngine, they will have fixed the Alembic import, and that is if it's not, you know, just an issue for Blender, but apparently other people have complained, and so we'll find out if we can do an Alembic export and use the geom cache in CryEngine, which would be pretty cool. It'd be something that probably for my project I'm not gonna have any use for, but you know, you never know. If nothing happens, there's no release happening for the latest CryEngine next week. As Oscar suggested, maybe we'll look into Vertex Paint next week for some vegetation, and so yeah. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully you got something out of the stream. I know it was, you know, just under an hour, but sometimes it's better to keep them short and you know, not just go off into the wilderness with it. All right, thanks guys for stopping by, and you have a great Sunday. Take care, everyone.